Hello, my name is Janet Collins Mitchell. The title of this presentation is Home Use Medical Devices, New Risk. I am a nurse consultant in the Office of Compliance in the Center for Devices and Radiological Health. I'm also a member of the Center's Home Healthcare Committee. This presentation was developed for medical device manufacturers, healthcare professionals, family caregivers, and patients. Over the course of this session, I will elaborate on emerging trends surrounding medical device migration from healthcare facilities into the home environment, as well as discuss the new risks that are involved as a result of this migration. This is not intended to be an all-inclusive presentation. The objectives of this presentation are to define the term medical device so you may better understand our regulatory definition. I will provide some examples of medical devices in addition to some emerging technologies seen in the home, as well as reiterate emerging trends of home use medical devices. I will also identify some safety risk factors that can affect the use of devices in the home with regard to the environment and the use of consideration, as well as describe some design considerations for these types of devices. Before we proceed, I would like to point out that I'll be using home device user, user group, or user population throughout this presentation. These terms are meant to describe the health professional, lay caregivers, family care providers, or the patient. This slide defines what FDA considers to be a medical device according to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, Section 201H. A medical device is defined as an instrument, apparatus, implement, machine, contrivance, implant, in vitro reagent, or other related article, including a component, part, or accessory, that is intended for use in the diagnosis of disease or other conditions, or in the cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease in man or other animals. A medical device is intended to affect the structure of any function of the body of man or other animals and does not achieve any of its primary intended purposes through chemical action within or on the body. It is not dependent upon being metabolized for the achievement of any of its primary intended purposes. Medical devices are recognized in the official national formulary or the United States Pharmacopoeia or any supplement to them. This is how FDA currently defines a home-use medical device. A home-use medical device is intended for users in a non-clinical environment apart from the professional healthcare facility or emergency medical services. It's managed partly or wholly by the user. It may require user training by a qualified healthcare professional to assure safe and effective use. Because care recipients expect to be able to stay independent, mobile, and active, the term home use extends beyond the home to encompass all environments in which a person plans to use his or her medical device in daily life. A home device user is a layperson, such as a patient, caregiver, or family member, who directly uses the device or provides assistance for use of the device. A device user could also be a qualified healthcare professional, licensed or non-licensed, with proficient skills and experience in the use of the device. Here's Wendy, a home device user. She is a layperson who uses her device in the home. You can see she's standing in her kitchen holding her home infusion device. While Wendy is an adult, remember, kids routinely use medical devices in their homes, and it is their parents who routinely manage their care. These two slides list type of medical devices in some general categories that you may be familiar with or see on a daily basis. Examples of common home use devices include capital equipment, which includes mobile assisted devices such as medical beds, bed rails, scales, wheelchairs, walkers, IV poles, lifts, shower chairs, and blood pressure equipment. We also have home therapeutic devices that are used to administer therapeutics, such as analgesics, antimicrobial, blood products, chemotherapy, nutrients. Specific devices include home hemodialysis negative pressure wound therapy systems, infusion pumps, or enteral feeding pumps. There's instruments such as glucose meters, pulse oximeters, and insulin pumps. More examples are provided on this slide, and these include monitoring systems such as cardiac telemetry, patient call systems, disposables, and accessories like ventilator breathing circuits, filters, oxygen therapy, related devices, needles, syringes, IV catheters, IV tubing, Foley catheters, feeding tubes, and gloves. There are implantables such as defibrillators, hip-knee implants, drug-eluting stents. There are computerized medical systems, even hardware or software, and reagents like fecal occult blood tests. What's important here is that sometimes you may not realize that these products are considered medical devices, notably laboratory solutions or computer software. This list is not all-inclusive, but gives you some idea of the spectrum of devices that could be in the home. Regardless of how simple or small the device may be, it can be still problematic and contribute to an adverse event for a patient, family, caregiver, or healthcare provider. Emerging trends in home device technologies include a range of diagnostic monitoring and therapeutic capabilities. Medical devices, products, and technologies are revolutionizing home care and self-care health systems. These are geared towards a prevention-oriented, consumer-driven model of healthcare. They include innovations such as smart devices that can think for themselves, customized wearable devices, electronic patient records, and wireless internet link systems, which are all expected to deliver convenient, user-friendly, and intelligent health. They are designed to operate to talk with each other, to operate with each other, and to share the information they are gathering with each other. Telemedicine connections can bring high-resolution image and audio through not much more than a telephone line and a computer monitor. A telemedicine device installed in the home allows the nurse to complete an exam without the patient ever having to leave the house. Although applications in the home environment requires further research and regulatory controls, several clinical trials of home distant monitoring of blood glucose level by computer found improved outcomes in diabetes care and as well as home distant monitoring of blood pressures. Home care is a rapidly growing field. It is estimated that in 20 years, there will be close to 72 million people over the age of 65 in the United States with multiple health issues. This represents 69% of the U.S. population. In addition, it is also important to note that 20% of U.S. adults report having at least one type of disability. Again, more and more people are living with chronic conditions that were once considered fatal. There are, at any given time, over 7.5 million people receiving care inside the homes. There are around 20,000 home care facilities in the United States and around 44 million people in a caregiving role. I want to reiterate the shift in healthcare in recent years and how these trends impact device use in the home setting. The impact of medical device use in the home differs because of the setting. Many devices are traditionally designed for use in the clinical environment. Home healthcare offers more comfort and convenience to care recipients than hospital-based care. As medical care continues to shift from the hospital to outpatient and the home setting, responsibility for patient care delivery is shifting, and we need to acknowledge the variability among different types of device users. Medical devices have become smaller and portable. Advances in medical technology have allowed care recipients to remain ambulatory and independent. It is now possible to conduct a variety of medical treatment in the home. Telemedicine and wireless monitoring devices have made it possible for healthcare providers to observe and remotely communicate with home recipients. Advances in robotics and electronics have allowed for more automated delivery of care with less need for the intervention of a medical professional. Patients in recent years are more empowered and active in the decisions related to their care. They have more knowledge about healthcare options. However, There are potential risks related to the use environment. For patients living in a rural setting, it may be more difficult for them to access supplies and seek help if a device malfunctions than if they were living in an urban area. The housing structure in which the device will be used and the ability to move it in and out of the home, as well as from room to room, could pose some risk. Large equipment could be cumbersome to navigate. The ability to properly dispose of waste can be a huge issue. Excessive heat or humidity can cause devices to fail or malfunction. Design of a device should incorporate expectations for temperature changes, especially devices that are portable and may be exposed to fluctuations in temperature. The use of well water versus city water should be a consideration taken into account for the safe operation of some devices. Manufacturers should specify the type of water that is required to clean the device. Many devices do not have backup plans for power outages because they are not intended to be used outside of a clinical environment. Televisions, microwaves, telephone lines, and other electronic technology may interfere with the medical device, and this could result in deaths or serious injuries, misdiagnosis, or inappropriate therapy delivery. Depending on their ages, children may injure themselves with accessories such as needles, use devices as play toys, or try to operate the device themselves. Devices should be designed to be childproof if it is not intended for a child to use. Pets and rodents could chew on device accessory tubing. Roaches may be found in the equipment, and pets sitting next to the patient during a procedure such as a wound care or dialysis could be dangerous. Device design should include ways to mitigate the risk of contamination by vermin, pets, tobacco, smoke, or household chemicals. Excessive noise, such as vacuums, televisions, electronic games, telephone, people arguing, and the like, can interfere with the ability to hear whether or not your device is operating correctly or whether an alarm has sounded. For devices used in noisy environment, the user might not be able to notice alarms if they are not sufficiently loud or distinctive. When multiple alarms occur for different devices or on the same device, the user could fail to notice them or to make important distinction between them. Devices are very likely to be affected during emergency relocation resulting from storms or fires. In Hurricane Katrina, for example, a large number of the dislocated population had some type of medical device. The user group in the home care setting may include nurses, therapists, allied health professionals, lay caregivers, or the patient. The number of potential users, their ability, limitations, and familiarity with the device may add to the complexity of assuring the proper use of the device. Fatigue, stress, medication, or other temporary mental or physical conditions could temporarily affect ability level of the device user. The user could also be elderly. To assure that the needs of the users are met, labeling and instruction for use should be easily understood by all intended users. Users will expect devices and device components to operate in ways that are consistent with their experience with similar devices or device interface components. For example, users are not likely to expect that the flow rate of a given substance, such as a gas or liquid, will increase by turning a control knob counterclockwise. Problems may result when a device operates in a way that is unfamiliar to the user. Home use devices should be compatible with the caregiver's educational level. In many cases, devices are designed for use by trained healthcare professionals in an acute care facility instead of a non-clinical setting. The care recipient may not be able to choose the devices that are provided to them and therefore may not receive devices that are optimal for their level of understanding. In addition, the prescribing physician may not be able to control which device is provided to the patient. The patient may be dependent on an equipment supplier who may prefer certain device brands or model over others. Training should be appropriately tailored to the lay caregiver, patients, or healthcare professional who regularly see home care patients. Training materials should be provided that can be easily understood. If the device is a durable medical equipment which is designed for long-term use in the home, there's a good chance the labeling will not be with the device. In such cases, it is not uncommon for a home healthcare provider to develop his or her own basic instruction for use, maintenance, and cleaning to share with the care recipient. Even when the device comes with a user manual, instructions are usually not written for a lay audience, or the labeling may include complex health-related vocabulary, difficult to understand warnings, precautions, and contraindication that could confuse lay readers. Multimedia training materials might be more effective than complicated written manuals or instruction sheets. Labeling of the device should include warnings against use in the environmental conditions for which it is not designed or intended. Labeling should never be used as a substitute for poor device design. Another consideration is the user's or caregiver's ability to understand multiple steps. Think of home care device users who fit these descriptions. In example number 1, a family member is caring for a loved one, and their ability to understand multi-step tasks is impaired. In example number 2, a patient is providing self-care and may be dealing with a new diagnosis or condition, such as Parkinson's, that would impact their ability to effectively operate a medical device. These users may not understand the need to calibrate, clean, and maintain the device. The user might not have the ready access to maintenance and repair services that are generally available to clinical users in the hospital. In addition, they might not have the necessary knowledge, skill, physical strength, or coordination to troubleshoot the device. Calibration instruction should be step by step, with visual feedback to the user and a visual indicator on the device to alert the user of needed calibration and stored dates of past calibration. If calibration can only be done by a trained professional, there should be information as to whether the device can remain in the home or if it has to be calibrated in another location. Home users may not have easy access to cleaning, disinfecting, and sterilization supplies. Device design should include simple and available cleaning techniques to keep the device safe and usable. If a device or its accessories require professional hygienic cleaning prior to reuse, contact information for those services should be provided in the labeling and information sheet. Home use devices should be designed with instructions and information written in simple language. Photographs may be used to provide clarity. Large print is recommended for elderly and visually impaired. Important considerations for device displays, including visual alarm indicators, include ambient light levels and viewing angles. If the device will be used in low light conditions, display scales or device status indicators might not be too clear to the user. Some scales will be read inaccurately when viewed from an angle. When certain types of equipment are used in close proximity with other devices, it could be difficult for the user to associate visual displays and auditory signals with the corresponding equipment. Motion and vibration can also affect the ability of the user to read display information. Device labels should be complete and should not include complex or difficult to comprehend warning precautions and contraindications that could confuse the lay readers. Labels should be clear. For example, if a label indicates sterile latex powder-free gloves, This could easily be misinterpreted to mean latex-free. Unclear package labeling can have huge implications if a patient is in fact allergic to latex. Package information with regards to the content should be accurate. An incorrect tubing size and length received for home hemodialysis could prevent a necessary treatment procedure and be detrimental to a patient. Home users consist of an extremely wide range of individuals, such as the elderly, resident, chronic patients of any age, pregnant women, high-risk infants, and rehabilitation patients. These individuals vary significantly in their ability to operate and maintain devices. Even if the device is designed for the home or for a specific type of patient as seen here, it must be something that they will use. Devices must be useful. Patients and caregivers must want to use the device or it will be ignored. Devices must be usable. There must be a minimal number of steps to operate the device. Device operation should be iterative, meaning operation should be repeated easily. The device must be intentional. There should be deliberate steps to operate the device. Furthermore, the user must understand that with each interaction with the device, there are causing something to happen. It must be intuitive, meaning it must be easy to operate like a telephone. The device must be integratable. You must be able to make the device and treatment fit into the person's everyday life, or they will skip steps, not use the device, or not take care of themselves. When the device provides information, it must be meaningful data to the user, or they will ignore it or put the device away. The device must address the risks unique to the home. The device must be able to go into a home environment without it disrupting the current environment or end up being a risky item to have in the home. My hope is that this presentation has provided you with some background information about how the agency defines a medical device and what the center considers to be a home use medical device. Home care is on the rise. Consequently, medical devices and technologies such as telemedicine, wireless technology, smart homes, and interoperable technology are converging to revolutionize the home healthcare industry. Medical devices, originally designed for use by trained healthcare professionals, are now being used by lay caregivers, family care providers, or the patients themselves. This rapidly growing trend has raised new concerns about devices being used in the home setting. I have highlighted environmental and use risks unique to the home setting. I've provided recommendations for manufacturers to consider in the design of devices for use in the home, which are that devices should be useful, usable, iterative, intentional, intuitive, integratable, informative, and address the risks unique to the home. Thank you for your time and attention.